Hey everyone, I'm Christine Gritman here with Social. I do this show every single week where I bring on smart friends to talk about different topics in social media and business. And today I have the fabulous Janet Murray joining us from London, and we're going to talk about something that is always relevant and always important, but especially right now, which is building your audience. Hello, Janet. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I know you've had a really busy day, and you're at the end of your Friday over there in England now. So thank you for finishing off your week with us.
Yeah, this is drink time. I really should have an alcoholic drink with me right now
I
because it's
mean,
that time of day.
when isn't it drink time right now? I mean, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and it's pandemic time everywhere. So anyway, so you are here today to talk about audience building. So first, give us a little overview of who you are and what you do around audience building, generally.
That's generally what I do. I help people to build online audiences. And what I mean by that is to help people get more followers, to get more fans, and to get more subscribers. Because particularly when you're selling online, if you want to sell online courses, you want to sell memberships, if you want to sell ebooks, all the kinds of things that I sell, that's all very well. But if you don't have an audience, who are you going to sell them to? So I teach people to build their social media followings, to build, if they've got a podcast or a YouTube channel or a Facebook live show, to get more listeners or viewers. And the key thing that I really teach people is email. So,
Yes.
it's great having an audience on social media, and that can be great for the ego and all of that. But actually, if you don't have an email list, it can actually be very difficult to sell to those people. So that's the kind of main thing that I do. My background is actually, I started off as a school teacher, and then I was a journalist, and then I taught people to do press and PR. And then somehow I kind of fell into doing what I'm doing now. But I guess what I'm helping people a lot with is content, because that's how you build an audience, is through really engaging content. And that's what I did for like the best part of 20 years is, as a journalist, I created content that engaged people. So that's it, it kind of makes sense.
That's really the part of the puzzle that a lot of people find difficult because, they'll follow the experts and they'll do content that they think will be engaging, and then it just flops and they don't really know why. So we will dig into that in just a moment. But first, I want to go back to something that you said, which is that in addition to growing your social media following, you also help people grow their email, which is really crucial. Now, this is something that a lot of people overlook because they feel like social media is where it's at. They don't feel like email is really important, or they don't know what to say in email. They're like, well, I don't need an email list because I don't know what I would even write to these people. Let's talk about why an email list is a really important thing to build and to have.
Well, you can build your audience on social media, but it's not yours. It's the old thing that you don't own the land. So last year we had a couple of occasions when Facebook and Instagram went down for a few days, and I had friends who were panicking because they were launching things, and they're like, what am I going to do? Instagram's down, Facebook's down. I don't mean to sound smug, but I was launching at the same time. And although it's inconvenient because it's nice to be able to post on social media, but when you have an email list, at the time I had 17,000 people I could email and tell about my course. So I wasn't as worried as those people who were building on social media. So it's not your land. It can be taken away from you. We've all heard of those people who've built like an audience on Instagram or something, and then somebody shut their account down, or their Facebook page is being banned or whatever. So it's your audience that you're building. But also there's something that's much more intimate about email. I think that, well, there's a whole thing about, most people need 7 or 8 touch points before they buy.
Yeah.
So they need to hear about you in lots of different ways. So yes, they still need to hear about you on social media. They still need to see you on video. They still need to see your Facebook post or whatever it might be. And they need to get to know you lots of different ways. But where the sales will generally happen will be in the inbox. That's when people will actually get their credit cards out and they will buy. And you can build quite an intimate relationship with people via email. Something I've started doing recently is sending a daily email to my list, which is working really, really well. And it's the kind of thing that people would say, like, how could you send people an email every day? Like, who would want that? But actually, it's a really great way to build up a relationship with people. And that's what this business is all about. It's about building relationships, isn't it?
And really, the relationships that you're nurturing, the most important relationships, are those people who want to hear from you. And if anything, it's weeding out the wrong people from your audience.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm launching something next week, and this is quite interesting. I just emailed my list. I called it like an unlaunch, and I just said, I'm launching a course on Instagram next week. and I appreciate that you might not be interested in Instagram. So I want to give you the chance to unsubscribe from this hearing about this
And
particular
that's a
course, because it may well
segment.
be, yeah. So, and this is, I call it like an unlaunch. So like if you don't want to hear about this particular thing, you don't have to leave my list, but I'm going to talk to you about this. Having said that, I'm also going to give you a free week's worth of email marketing emails. I'm going to show you a launch. So if you want to stick around and you want to be part of the launch because you want to read what I write and you want to see my subject headers and you want to see how many emails I send and what time I send them, so it's quite an interesting thing, and I just find it fascinating as well, because you're part of being great at email marketing is understanding how people think and trying to get inside their heads. So it's a really interesting thing to do as well. And people have a lot of misconceptions about email marketing, that, you know, you can't email your list this many times, or you mustn't do this, you mustn't do that. But actually, it's your list, it's your relationship with that list, and you build the kind of relationship that you want with your list.
I love that. Now, how do you get people even on the email list? How do you get to have that immediate channel with them?
So there's obviously lots of different ways that you can do it. Most people are familiar with the idea of a lead magnet. So this is some kind of freebie that you create, which gives people, because most people don't want to part with their email address for no reason. We all get loads of emails. So you give something of value. So that might be some kind of information product. So it might be a cheat sheet or a download, or it might be, if you have a product-based business, it could be a discount code or something like that. But it could be a quiz, it could be a white paper. There's so many different things that you can do. I also have this daily email, so that's one way that I get people onto my list, and I give them a nice email every morning at 7 o'clock, where I give them a bit of inspiration and just something to think about for the day. There's so many different ways you can do it, but the ultimate thing is it's about providing value. So people won't give you their email address unless you give them something valuable. And then after that, it's about building relationships. So we talk about nurture sequences, and then you build that relationship with people over time. Most people, I use Infusionsoft email marketing software. It's not called that anymore, it's called Keep, but we all still call it Infusionsoft. And when I look, typically, like, I sell all sorts of things, but I sell a physical product, a diary. And you often see somebody will have 7 or 8 touch points with you before they buy one, quite entry level product. Like, people need time to get to know you. So you deliver that lead magnet, and then you build the relationship. And then when somebody's ready for the products or services you've got to offer, you can make that offer, and that's it. It's nice and straightforward and nice and easy.
I love that. So it's really people self-identifying that they actually want to hear from you, and you confirming that by doing all of those touch points. Now let's talk about how to build those relationships on social media. You pointed out that content is really your bread and butter here, and that's such an important vehicle. But as I said, so many people, they say, you know what, I feel like I'm doing and I have this problem as well. I will straight up say that I am in this category, even though I'm a social media professional teaching other people how to do this. The fact remains, sometimes I'll put something up and I'll be like, I did all the right things. Why didn't it catch on? So can we talk about how to know what's going to catch on with social media to build that audience?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obsessed with this question, and it's kind of like I talk about it, think about it all day long. I'm just obsessed with, what makes people engage with content. So the key thing, I think, where a lot of people go wrong, it's probably feels a bit negative, is that they forget that you're dealing with real people. So I always say, when you're thinking about your content and you're thinking about what will engage people, you're thinking more about, even though it might be about your business, you're thinking more about what you might post on your personal Facebook wall. So the kind of things that because, social media is about friends and family, it's about conversation. But what a lot of people do is they slip into this kind of corporate businessy, and they post stuff which is so boring that they would never post it on their personal Facebook, because nobody would be the slightest bit engaged. So that's the starting point, is thinking about, what do I post on my personal Facebook wall, for example? That's the kind of thing. So, when you're asking people to recommend TV shows, or you're sharing funny things that happen to you, that's really more about where you need to be starting, and you need to be thinking about how you can engage people. It isn't about you, it isn't about what you want to say. And people just tune out if you're constantly selling. So for me, it's always about starting a conversation. But this is the key thing. Like, if there was one thing that you remember from this broadcast, it's this: people have to connect emotionally with your content, even though it's business content. And most of the content I see is just like, meh, who cares? Like, most of the content on Instagram, most of the content on Facebook is just like, Who cares? It's not going to stop me in my feed. I don't feel anything about this content. So the trick is to create content that makes people feel something. So that might be making them laugh. It might be about making people kind of creating empathy, where somebody goes, yep, I know how that feels. I've had that experience too. I understand that. It might be about making someone angry, like polarizing content, which is something that I do quite a lot. Whereas you say something, or you put something out there that you know people are going to disagree with. But you can't just kind of put this vanilla content out that people are just like, who cares, and expect A, to get engagement, and B, to grow your following. Because, why would somebody want to come back to your account? Why would somebody want to come to your Facebook page again if all they get is this kind of nothingness, So for me, it's all about, I had a post actually on Instagram that I've added 250 followers in one day this week on Instagram.
Wow.
And I traced it back to one post, and I looked, and it had been shared over 1,000 times. And
I have to look this up right now.
It's the one about the post is it says, don't take criticism from somebody you wouldn't take advice from.
Oh, I like that.
And then in it, I tell a little story about how people email me and say that my email marketing is wrong, and these people generally don't have a list. They generally have never sold anything on email, but somehow they think they're an expert.
Yeah.
And tell that story, put that quote out there. It's quite high up in my feed. It's only a few days ago, and
I'm going to share it. Actually, I'm going to share it right now. I just have to figure out how to do that again. Yes, here we go. So it's this post right here. Reminder, don't take criticism from people you wouldn't take advice from. And I want to read your caption here, because that's also a really important part of this. I know you said, over the past 5 years, I've built a multi-six-figure business and launched multiple online courses and memberships, digital and physical products. Yet I still get fledgling business owners telling me I'm doing my email marketing wrong. Most times they don't even, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is fantastic. And you said double tap if it resonates with you. And you used a medium number of hashtags. It's not the full 30, but it's not like 3 either. But this is fantastic. It's been liked by 1,190 people. That's incredible. And you've got an active comment thread too.
Yeah, and I've just created an IGTV video about it today as well. And it was the shares, like over, I think it's 1,036 people shared it. Mm-hmm. So what have you got to do to create content that would motivate somebody to share it? Somebody sent that to their friends, they put it in their stories. Like, that's the kind of content we have to create if we want to build an audience. Like, we can't just kind of put vanilla stuff out there that nobody cares about. And sometimes that does mean being a bit, polarizing. It means that not everybody will love, what you say. But that is the difference between content that gets engagement and content that doesn't.
So now here's my question. So in email, you talk about, and also for the lead magnets, you talk about giving them something really useful, really valuable. For the social media content, it appears that it's more about starting conversations on a human level. So where does teaching content fit in? Where does valuable content that gives someone something that they can use fit into this whole audience strategy?
It's a really good question, and it does depend to an extent on your business. So I've tested this out extensively. Let's take Instagram, for example. And so I would post, I don't know, every 5 or 6 posts I might do something which is more educational. And it does okay, but it doesn't do anywhere. They do quite well, but they never do as well as just kind of starting human conversations with people. It's really interesting. So when it comes to, and sales posts, they just bomb. So, and I do it occasionally. I might just post something about a lead magnet or a download that I've got. And I just have to accept that the engagement's going to be pants, and it kills me because, I want to be starting conversations. However, there's ways around it. So, you can write a really engaging post with a really nice caption, and then you can put PS if you want to download my whatever it might be at the end, or PS, do you want to buy this or do you want to buy that? And you can use the PS. So it's just about kind of mixing it up. And sometimes accepting, like when I do quite a lot of Instagram tips on Instagram, and they do pretty well, but they don't do anywhere near as well as, and it's interesting because even though it's useful, I just think that human connection, and I think what you're doing is just having conversations with people, you're building a relationship, and then when they do have that, they just remember you, and they remember that nice conversation that they had with you, and the fact that you listened to what they had to say and whatever. So I think it all comes down to this thing that people like to do business with people that they like. So if we can focus on just having really nice conversations, or not even nice, but good conversations with people, and we can be memorable. So many people are just forgettable on social media as well. Like my clients will say, but I'm too scared to post this, or I'm too scared to post that. So we'll, be forgettable then, because nobody's going to remember that really safe post that you did, that because you were too scared to say what we really thought. And in a way, it's kind of like wasting your time as well, because, if you're posting very vanilla, safe content all the time because you're worried about how someone will react, and it's not getting you followers, it's not getting you engagement, it's not getting you sales, it's kind of a waste of time.
Though to that point about feeling like you're wasting your time, though, this is the part that people struggle with, because when you're just putting discussions out there and they have nothing to do with your business or what you're trying to sell, that can feel like a time waster. So how do you figure out what is going to be good for engagement without being a silly waste of time? What's going to actually build your business, but also get that human engagement?
And what I always try and encourage people to do is to find a business angle. So whatever it is that you're talking about, can you bring it back to business? So that example I just gave there about the email marketing, and somebody giving me advice about my email marketing. Well, I'm reminding people that I do email marketing and I sell stuff. So it's just always about trying to find a business, whatever you're talking about, trying to find a business angle, or trying to find a way to sort of link it to whatever it is that you're selling. So I'll often, for example, I'll talk about, I don't know, people being nervous about posting on social media, or being nervous about not knowing what kind of content to create. And then at the end of it, I'll say, and by the way, if you want to buy whatever it might be, you can buy it. So it's just about being clever, I guess, about how not every post has to be about business, but just strategically putting posts through there. The other thing as well, on things like Instagram stories, if you can get people talking to you about non-business stuff, so if you can get people chatting to you in the DMs about the film that you just went to see, or book recommendations, or what you did at the weekend, when you put that offer, because I do it all the time in my stories, when you put an offer out for a course that you're doing, or a download that you're selling, or you're coaching or whatever, people will they'll feel happier about DMing you back, and they will they'll get in a discussion with you because they've chatted to you about a book or a holiday or something like that. Does that kind of make sense? It's about
it's about the ratio.
Yeah. And the trouble is, what everybody wants is, everyone wants me to say, well, you do 80% this and 20% that.
But it's not
but the
that
trouble
defined.
is that, it depends. Like, it can depend on what you're up to. So I'm launching something next week. So lots of my posts will be quite salesy. I will be talking about the course. I'll be talking much more, and answering people's questions or whatever. But the following week or the week after, it might be much more conversational, and there might be less of those sorts of posts, or less posts where I'm talking business. And so some of it's just about the peaks and troughs of, and it's creating the content that you need at the time, your audience needs at the time. I've had to really, during the COVID-19 crisis, a lot of my clients have said to me that they're quite scared of posting because they're worried about being insensitive, they're worried about saying the wrong thing. And I've posted right the way through, but I've had to change my strategy. Like, you can't carry on just posting the same old stuff. And I've had to look at it kind of week by week. What do people need to hear from me right now? One thing that I've done is I've posted really openly and said, I believe that you should be doing business now if you can do safely. And, it's your responsibility to do that, as, for the sake of your own business, for the wider economy, for your family or whatever. And I've been quite kind of open about that in my content. But again, it's just responding to the situation. And I know what everyone wants is for you to say, you do this much content of that and this much of that. But often it's just about, you have to be quite responsive to what's going on and what people need at the time.
Now, how does this differ between social media platforms? Because I know people respond to different types of engagement, and the algorithms themselves respond to different types of posts and engagement. So how would you sort of sum that up in a small way? I know it's an endless conversation, but...
No, I've just got a really one answer for it. The algorithm is just basically, if your content's boring, you won't get engagement, and you won't grow your following. And that doesn't matter, it doesn't matter what platform you're on. It's the same for LinkedIn, it's the same for Facebook, it's the same for Instagram. And while there's slight differences, but if your content is boring, if it's not engaging, then the algorithm will not kick in. It won't show your content to other people. So that's kind of it, really. That's how you work the algorithm. So the more people that engage by sharing, by commenting, by saving, whatever, the more people your content will be shown to. So your job is just to, on whatever platform it is just to create really good conversations and really good content. Like for example, LinkedIn, people often say, I couldn't possibly talk about that on LinkedIn. I couldn't. And you can talk about anything on LinkedIn because people are people on whatever platform you're on. I think there are slight differences. I think Instagram maybe is a little bit more sensitive, and you might find that you have slightly different strategies. Is that kind of like, was that kind of what you were asking, or was I just going off on a complete tangent?
No, that sounds right to me. Basically, it sounds like the gist is no matter where you are, people are people. So your basic tip of, engaging as a person, showing up as a person. Though that brings me to my next question, which is, it's pretty clear how all this works when you're a personal brand like you are or like I am, show up as a human. How does this strategy differ if you're engaging as a brand? I mean, a brand isn't necessarily going to say, hey, I just saw this film at the weekend. So, like, how does it differ? Or does it?
Yeah, I still don't think it differs. And some of the brands that I see doing this really well, they still have a voice. You still feel like it's a person. So an example, Preview app, that's an app for Instagram. Whoever does their stuff it's really cool. It's really engaging, and you feel like there's a person behind it. In the UK, we've got like our train companies and things like that, and when they tweet, like they're very personable, and they might ask questions like, "What are you doing at the weekend?" or whatever. And it's just kind of how you position it, And they might say, "Oh, it's Dean in the Dean, doing the Twitter today," or whatever. I think whatever whether you're a brand or whether you're a person, you've still got to be personable. And I think you have to think about, ultimately, people need to feel like they're talking to an individual, I think, rather than an organization. And so you need to almost have a single voice. And so the companies that I see doing it really well, you feel like it might be a different person. It might be Dean today and it might be Charlie tomorrow or whatever. You feel like it's a person, and that's about the brand voice. It's about knowing what your brand voice is and whoever's posting. But also, I think a lot of businesses, they use it as an excuse and they hide behind a logo. And why can't they bring out their staff? Like, why can't they have different people posting different days or whatever, showing pictures of people, showing pictures of the team or whatever? I think often it can be a little bit of an excuse because they're a little bit frightened about what to say and how to come across.
Yeah. I'm also picturing that this is a little bit harder. You and I, we sell a service. And things that you talked about are kind of service-based. But if you're a shop or something, or a product, and you're trying to sell an actual product, it can be a little scary. It can feel almost like you're wasting opportunity if you're putting posts out there that aren't presenting your product for sale. And we, of course, know that it's not. It's a long game. It's a marathon, not a sprint. But right now, people are feeling very worried. They need money now. So I guess, what do you say to people who, because I'm sure you've heard that before. So what do you say to people who present that worry?
I get this question all the time. People say, "What about product-based business?" It's like, well, I sell a product and I manage it, yes. and I do it in the deck. So I have this social media diary. It's like an A4 desk diary that you can use to plan out content. It's got awareness days and key dates, and I sell this pretty much in the same way as I sell service stuff. So it's about how you're using the product. So I wouldn't rock up particularly and do a post on, well, I might just show the insides of it and how it works or whatever. But that's that kind of content. So if you're selling products, like, people love to see how they work, they love to see inside them, they love to see behind the scenes. If you have a shop, people love to see what you do in your shop, like after 4:00, or they love to see in your cafe, they like to see behind the scenes, they like to see the staff or whatever. And you can sell your product or service by just doing that. But when it comes to products, what people need help with is how to use it. So, one of the problems we've all got at the moment is hair. Like, you see my fringes down here. Like, my husband had to buy hair clippers, and we had to help him. Well, I didn't. My daughter did at the end, cut his hair. But, people don't want to see videos particularly of the hair clippers. They want to see how to use them. They want that video on how to use them. So it's just a little shift in how you in how you do things, but it's exactly the same principle. It's like, what's going to be engaging to your audience, what's going to be useful to them, what's going to entertain them, what's going to interest them. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, the products are in use by actual people in their real lives. So you need to meet them as actual people in their real lives, as opposed to meeting them from a place of, here's my thing.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of, posting about the product, show them how to use it, show them different ways that they can be using it, show them how other people are using them. Like with my diary, I have a whole highlights on my Instagram. People send me pictures of them using their diary. I mean, it's like gold, and I just put them in my highlights, and it sort of sells itself because people, but in order to do that, you have to tell people that's what you want them to do. So you have to say, when my diary arrives, take a picture, send it, I'll put it in my story. So you also have to always coach your audience into what you want them to do, and they can help you grow your audience, but you have to show them how to help you do it.
I really like that. You know what? Can we touch on that for a second? And then we'll wrap up in just a moment. But can we touch on that for a second? How can you get your audience help you grow your audience?
So basically, if you're selling a product or service, you just tell them what you want them to do. So you think about, well, what would be the best piece of content that somebody could create to sell my product or service? And you just ask them to send it to you. So like with my diary, it's just a case of saying, so if send me a picture of you using it, or send me a picture of, and people send me unboxing videos or when unwrapping it when it arrives. But they do that because I tell them to do it, or I certainly told the first people to do it, and then they see other people doing or whatever. So, if you've got a cafe and you tell people, I don't know, can they send in their pics of them eating your muffins or whatever it might be? If you have a haircut, again, asking people, can you get in touch and send us a picture of your finished hairdo or whatever it might be. It's really kind of simple stuff, but also sometimes you have to I find sometimes that people won't do things because they don't know how to do it. So if your audience don't know how to shoot a video, create a little video for them to show them, look, here's a really easy way that you can create a video on your phone, and here's how to edit it. Or I've had that, I'm trying to think of an example with, it's slightly different, but affiliates in my membership. So you want people to go out and sell your stuff for you. I realised that the reason they weren't selling it is because they didn't know how to do it. They didn't know how to create the right kind of post. They didn't know how to do, like, say for example, you've got a software business. If you want people to sell your software but they don't know how to make a demo video, you need to show them how to make a demo video. Does that kind of make sense? Is that you need to think about what's going to be the barrier for that person creating that amazing piece of content that you need? Because there's nothing more powerful than user generated content. But what might be holding somebody back is that they don't know how to use Zoom, or they don't. I mean, I find people don't even know how to edit a video on their phone. Yeah. They don't know how to click the bit at the beginning where they go like that, and the bit at the end. I think if you just make them a little video and show them how to do that, then you've taken away the barrier for them to do that.
Ah, I love that. Perfect. So Janet, where can people find you, and what would you like them to, this is the selling bit. what would you like to direct people towards so they can learn more from you?
The best place probably to head is my website, which is janetmurray.co.uk. And the main thing that I sell lots of things, but the most important thing is my Build Your Online Audience program. So if you're somebody this is like one of my workbooks I just happen to have on my desk. But if you're somebody who, and typically my kind of client would be somebody who they want to sell things like products or online courses or memberships or one-to-many. They want to sell things to a lot of people, but they realise they don't have enough people following them. They don't have enough email subscribers. They don't have any email subscribers. They don't have a podcast or a blog or any other, so if you're that kind of person, I'm the only person that does it. I think I'm probably the only person that does audience building as a thing, as a discipline. So yeah, come over to my website. It's janetmurray.co.uk, and it's the Build Your Online Audience program.
Fantastic. And we're going to link that in the post also. Thank you so much, Janet, for joining us all the way from the UK.
Thank you.
I'm sad that I won't be seeing you as soon as I had hoped coming over there, but
yeah.
I'll see you the next time I'm out there, hopefully. Again, I do this show every single week where I talk to smart friends about a different topic relating to social media or business. I've been doing themes this year, and May is actually Mental Health Month. So all of May, my guests are going to be talking about the intersection of social media and mental health. It's especially a hot topic right now where we're all experiencing a lot around both of those topics. So next week, tune in. I will have Chris Brogan on talking about mental health, social media, and leadership and how to sort of find our own place in all of that. So thanks very much. Bye.